Hello, Brilliant One. Welcome to Billionaire Brilliance with your coach, mentor, and guide, Anna McCoy. I'm a bit quirky, funny, fascinating, and absolutely serious about your good success. You're listening to the Business and Faith podcast for entrepreneurs to help you win in business and life.
Say what you see, believe you will be. Ooh, if you can see it, it's your mindset. You can achieve it, adjust your mindset.
Welcome to this episode of Billionaire Brilliance with your coach, Coach Anna McCoy. I'm excited that you're joining me today, and today I'm going to talk about the 7 pillars of a billionaire mindset. And the first pillar will talk about the abundance mindset. Now, I've taken the time over the last 3 episodes to encourage you, if this is your first time listening, to go back and listen to those episodes on AI, Chat GPT, and I want to encourage you to use these tools in some kind of way that is beneficial to you. Now, I want to get back to this idea of unlocking your billionaire brilliance so that you can move forward in life and win in business and in your personal life and go after your extraordinary dreams. So I'm starting this process because I have a 7-pillar system that I want to share with you about this mindset of billionaire brilliance. And I want to share with you some of the principles that I have lived by that has brought good success into my life. And I hope that it's a blessing to you as you're hearing, and that you'll share this episode and this podcast with those you love. So let's get right to this. Today is about your abundance mindset. And I'm going to talk about 5 principles that will help you expand and tune into an abundance mindset so that you can experience what I call the more than enough principle, so that your life is a life of expansion. Your life is a life of opportunity. It's more than enough that is available for you. My mom would always say, you can only wear 1 pair of pants at a time. You can only eat 1 meal at a time. You can drink 1 drink at a time. You may have many, but you can only do these things once at a time. So when we think about abundance, we always have more than enough, right? You want things. You want things you see and how you want to live and how you want to experience life. But today's episode is really about getting you to look at these 5 principles that they can open up and expand your mindset around the space of abundance. The first principle is an abundance mindset. When we think about it, I want you to consider this word, inspiration. When I think about inspiration, I mean, it just feels good, right? To inspire and to be inspired. And many of us don't even recognize how much we rely on inspiration to live in this life. Everything about it. When you think about your moments, when you think about tough times, when you think about trying to make it in the world, trying to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps, trying to find your joy when times are tough, you look for inspiration. And the reason why we look for this inspiration is that when we adopt this idea to be people of inspiration, we are actually starting to expand our abundance mindset. And the reason why I say this is that inspiration, when we inspire or we inspire others, we create a space in our hearts and minds to believe that anything is possible. We're looking for that glitter or glimmer of hope, that glimmer of light when sometimes we feel like we're in darkness. Maybe there's confusion. Maybe there's hurt and sorrow in our lives. We're looking to be inspired, even in the worst of times, in the best of times. We're looking for that inspiration. And the reason for that is because inspiration creates a heart space. It opens you up. It expands you. It gives you this ability to believe that there is more than enough. Inspiration fuels our creativity, our motivation, and our drive to pursue our dreams. When I think about this idea of inspiration or to inspire, when we think about that word inspire, it comes from the root word breath. This breath is blowing into you. It's feeling you. And so when you choose to be a person of inspiration, you're what I call that breath carrier. You bring the breath of life to people. You blow into their hope. You bring something that says there's more than enough. So that's our principle number one, is to be a person of inspiration. That's a part of your development of your abundance mindset. Principle number two is vulnerability. This means being willing to open your heart to others and to be seen for who you truly are. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we create deeper connections with others, and we learn to embrace who we truly are, whether there are imperfections or our limitations or our greatest talents, our abilities. It's who we are. So when you think about this idea of vulnerability, most people will see vulnerability, and we've heard so much about it, but most people see it as showing weakness or showing your imperfections or, whatever. I'm not really sure. But the way I see vulnerability is being able to show people who you truly are. Not only show them who you are, but show them, you've got to be able to have enough confidence in yourself to show whether you know it or you don't. That's really what it kind of comes down to. And when I think about it, vulnerability is all about perception. It's what we think other people are thinking about us. Then when you show up in that situation and you show them who you truly are, you show them that you can't handle that load. You show them that you can't be the savior. And this is me talking about me, that the moment that you show your true capacity, and it's not that you're a different person, it's your capacity in a given situation. And oftentimes we try to move about in life like we've moved about in life, like it's the way you did things when you were here, when you're there. We're constantly evolving. And so I want you to consider this idea of vulnerability as you being willing to open your heart to others and to be seen for who you really are. Now, notice that inspiration creates space in our hearts and minds to believe that anything is possible. Are you seeing this connection between abundance? There's more than enough. Is that we're expanding ourselves. That's what this whole mindset of abundance is. In addition to that, when we talk about vulnerability, we are expanding, we are allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, to make deeper connections with other people. We're certainly in a time, in a space where people want to show up for who they are. Everybody has an opinion, and everybody wants to say it. But at the end of the day, more than opinion is what I truly feel, how I can show up in this situation, and the capacity in which I can or cannot deliver. The next principle is empathy. And of course, these are not new principles, but I'm talking about them in the way of expanding your heart space, how you go about living in life, how you go about expressing who you are with the people you care about, the people you work with, the customers you want to gain. It's like you've got to show up and you've got to be true in your mindset. In that mindset, there's more than enough. There's plenty of negativity in the world, and you don't have to be a part of the party. So, when we think about this third principle, the third principle has to do with empathy. And this is by learning to use our emotions. I learned from my mentor, Al Hollinsworth, almost 30 years ago, to be a master of your emotions. Well, I've learned to master my emotions, but I'd almost learned to master them to the extreme, meaning, just not really showing how you feel in a given situation, or maybe not being able to make that connection to understand rather than to be understood. But when I think about this idea of empathy, it is learning how to use your emotions to support others and to see the world through their eyes. Empathy, it allows us to relate, really to relate to other people on a deeper level and to learn from their experiences. It's like giving yourself an opportunity to say, there's another way to think about this. There's another way to feel about this. There's another way to express this. There's another way to experience it. When I think about the terminology of lived experiences, I've noticed this term over the last several years and how people want to be validated based on their lived experience. So when I think about empathy, empathy is the way to allow and experience someone else's experience without judgment. You don't have to do what they do, you don't have to be what they are, but listening and being completely present with a person will make a difference. And that's abundance. That's having time for another person, that there's what? More than enough. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you have to do this for every single person that you meet, but I am saying how we approach, we have enough maturity or perception to know or discernment to who deserves that conversation and that empathy, how far we go into that deeper connection. The fourth principle is authenticity. Of course, again, all of these are words that you've heard before, but I'm certain you haven't heard them in the way that I'm sharing them, in the sense of connecting it with our ability to have an abundance mindset. It really does make a lot of sense to me, because when we're people that are not people who inspire people, who inspire the world, who show up, then we're not givers. To inspire another is to feel that person, or to be filled if you are receiving inspiration. And if you're not a person of inspiration, it's more like you're a person that's taking from that environment. You're a taker and not a giver. Going back to this fourth principle, authenticity. When we live authentically, we tap into our true selves, free from the constraints of social expectations or self imposed limitations. As a coach, it's really interesting how people come to me and they'll want to engage, as a client, and they always come with something that's very surface driven. Like, I need help on being accountable to some of the projects that I'm doing, or I want to build my business. And one of the things that I've found is that before we can do any of those things, we have to peel back the layer and the layer and the layer to see if they're in fact capable of doing those things from an inward place. Then we start to work on the work of doing a business. And so when we think about this principle of authenticity, it is really standing up for yourself. It's showing up for who you truly are and what you truly believe about yourself. It means, above all things, to be fully alive, to be fully present, to experience the world in the way you were meant to experience it, without fear, without hesitation, without second guessing yourself. That's being authentic. It's coming into this place of agreement and alignment with who you truly are, what you truly believe about yourself. Finally, the fifth principle. This principle is generosity. I love this one. To me, I think generosity is kind of like the foundation of an abundance mindset. And it's not really just about having an overflow of resources or possessions, but it's about possessing an overflow of love in action. To be generous with people. I learned this whole idea of generosity is not about just my capacity to give to a cause, to a person, to a need. But I've learned to anticipate. I've learned to perceive when generosity is needed or when it's required of me, right? And what I mean by that, you're not really being generous if a person is asking you for it. Your keen insight on generosity is really your ability to discern when something is needed and you take action. So when we think about generosity in the form of an abundance mindset, it is really about you being aware of opportunities where we can make a positive impact in the lives of others and be willing to do it without an expectation of reward. This is how I know this is true. There's something about when people have to ask, when a person is in real need and they have to ask for your help, it is often for that individual very painful, maybe embarrassing, and shameful. So when I think of an abundance mindset, I am always considering the matter to see if it's something I should be doing before I'm asked. So these 5 principles are the mindset of abundance. For Billionaire Brilliance, and one of the persons that the late Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you see things, the way you see things will change. So I want to encourage you to consider these 5 principles. Number 1, being inspiration. Be a person of inspiration. Abundance is all about inspiring. It's feeling, it's encouraging, it's empowering, it's serving others through your words, your motivation. Number 2 is vulnerability. It means being willing to open your heart to others, to be seen for who you truly are. The third principle is empathy. This is how you show up. It's how you show up to support others, to see the world through their eyes. The fourth principle is authenticity. This is how when we live authentically, we tap into our true selves. We're free from constraints of social expectations or self-imposed limitations. You gotta love that. That's the stuff on the outside and the stuff on the inside. The fifth is the final principle, which is generosity. And generosity is about possessing an overflow of love in action. Give, do, Be before it's needed. Anticipate it. Discern it. And be a person of generosity, expecting nothing in return. So I want to just thank you for tuning in to today's episode on an abundance mindset. Know that you're loved, you're appreciated, you're celebrated, and you are valued. And until next time, you can meet me at annamccoy.com and sign up for that Get Smart with AI class because you know you need it. Let me go on do that for you. So have a great day, everybody. And until next time, Coach Anna. You're listening to the Business and Faith podcast on how to unlock your billionaire brilliance with Coach Anna McCoy to be more confident, make more money, and achieve your wildest dreams in business and in life.
Ooh, if you conceive it in your mindset, you can achieve it. Adjust your mind.